Do you have a fatty liver, feel tired, have poor digestion, and abdominal bloating? In today's video, I'll show you how a simple leaf, used in the right way, was able to cleanse my liver in just 7 days. We'll talk about the silent symptoms of fatty liver disease, explain the power of this plant, and of course, teach you how to prepare and consume it safely. If you want to detoxify your body naturally, this video is for you. If you're new here, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. Nowadays, talking about fatty liver, or hepatic steatosis, as it is known in the medical field, has become increasingly common. This is because this condition, which for decades was associated almost exclusively with excessive alcohol consumption, has now begun to affect millions of people who do not even drink alcohol frequently. This is called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, a silent disease that is growing at an alarming rate worldwide. What is most concerning is that it usually develops discreetly, with no apparent symptoms in the early stages, until the damage to the liver is already considerable. Therefore, understanding what fatty liver is, its causes, its impacts, and why it has become so common is essential for anyone who wants to live healthier, prevent complications, and above all, restore the body's balance naturally. The liver is one of the most important and multifunctional organs in the human body. It acts as a true processing center for everything we ingest: food, medicine, beverages, toxins, and is responsible for more than 500 vital functions, including bile production, metabolism regulation, vitamin storage, blood filtration, and the elimination of toxic substances. However, when the liver begins to accumulate fat in its cells, it loses efficiency in these functions. This accumulation, which should be non-existent or minimal, begins to take up space and cause inflammation. Hepatic steatosis is characterized precisely by this accumulation of fat in the liver, usually above 5% of the organ's total weight. What at first seems harmless can develop into serious conditions such as steatohepatitis, fibrosis, cirrhosis, and even liver cancer. But why is this happening so often today? The answer lies in several interrelated factors that are part of the modern lifestyle. The first major culprit is poor diet. Excess refined sugars, saturated fats, ultra-processed foods, soft drinks, energy drinks, starchy foods, and fast foods lead to excessive consumption of empty calories, which the body cannot burn completely. The liver then converts this excess into fat, storing it as a form of protection. But this protection soon becomes a threat. Over time, this fat interferes with liver function, causes inflammation, and triggers a negative chain reaction. Another determining factor is a sedentary lifestyle. Lack of regular physical activity reduces the basal metabolic rate and the body's ability to use glucose efficiently. When there is not enough energy expenditure, the body accumulates fat in different areas, including the liver. The contemporary lifestyle, marked by long hours sitting in front of screens and less physical activity, contributes to the liver becoming overloaded and unable to perform its functions fully. In addition, the constant and often inappropriate use of medications such as painkillers, anti-inflammatories, antibiotics, and even supplements overloads the liver, which is primarily responsible for metabolizing these substances. This overload is also related to frequent alcohol consumption, even in small doses when combined with other aggravating factors. Many people do not realize that even amounts of alcohol considered social, when consumed on a regular basis, can contribute significantly to the development of steatosis, especially in a liver already inflamed by poor diet and a sedentary lifestyle. Insulin resistance, a condition common in people who are overweight, obese, or pre-diabetic, is another mechanism directly linked to fatty liver. When the body does not respond properly to insulin, there is an increase in glucose and triglycerides in the blood, which end up being diverted to the liver and converted into fat. This creates a vicious cycle that is difficult to break and can silently worsen for years. In fact, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is now considered the invisible companion of metabolic syndrome, which includes high blood pressure, high cholesterol, abdominal obesity, and type 2 diabetes. And we cannot fail to mention the emotional factor, often overlooked in discussions about liver health. Chronic stress, anxiety, and depression alter the production of hormones such as cortisol, which directly influences liver metabolism. In addition, emotional distress leads many people to eat compulsively or neglect their physical health. Thus, liver overload can be both physical and emotional. And in many cases, the initial symptoms are so subtle that they go unnoticed. Excessive tiredness, difficulty concentrating, abdominal bloating, discomfort after meals, skin changes, and even sleep disorders. The reality is that fatty liver disease has become a direct reflection of modern lifestyle, and its prevalence is growing every year in people of all ages, but especially in adults over 40. The good news is that because it is often reversible, simple and consistent changes in your daily routine can cleanse your liver and restore its natural function. A healthy diet rich in fruits, vegetables, bitter greens, whole grains, and natural liquids is a powerful tool in this process. And as we will see in the following topics, certain medicinal plants and leaves have incredible properties for detoxifying the liver, reducing liver fat, and restoring energy to the body in just a few days. Therefore, understanding what fatty liver is and why it has become so common is the first step in fighting it. It is a serious condition, but one that can be overcome with knowledge, conscious choices, and natural habits. The liver is resilient. If it is respected and nourished properly, it will regenerate. And it all starts with a decision to take better care of yourself, starting with what you put on your plate. Fatty liver, also known as hepatic steatosis, is one of the most insidious and silent conditions affecting the human body. For years, it can develop without showing any obvious symptoms, advancing silently while compromising the health of one of the most important organs in our body. That is precisely why recognizing the subtle and seemingly harmless signs that the liver gives is essential to stopping the progression of the disease in time. And contrary to what many people think, the symptoms of fatty liver are not limited to pain or discomfort in the abdominal region. They affect various systems in the body, influencing metabolism, mood, digestion, and even mental and physical well-being, which is why they are often confused with signs of common fatigue, stress, or advanced age. One of the first symptoms that deserves attention is constant fatigue. This is a persistent tiredness that does not improve with rest and often begins early in the morning. People with an overworked liver tend to feel a heaviness in their body, as if they are always lacking energy, even after a full night's sleep. This is because when healthy, the liver is a major source of energy for the body. It actively participates in the metabolism of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. When it is overloaded with fat, its functions are compromised and the body begins to function slowly and sluggishly. This fatigue may be accompanied by mild mental confusion, memory lapses, and difficulty concentrating, symptoms often mistakenly associated with aging or overwork. Another very common sign, but one that is rarely associated with the liver, is abdominal distension, that feeling of a swollen or hard stomach, even after light meals. People with hepatic steatosis often report mild pressure in the upper right side of the abdomen, where the liver is located. Although there is not always pain, discomfort, or a feeling of fullness can be a warning sign. In addition, it is common for the abdomen to become more distended throughout the day, as if there were an accumulation of gas or fluid. In more advanced stages, this accumulation actually occurs due to fluid retention caused by liver malfunction, a condition known as ascites. Digestive changes are also common. When the liver does not work properly, it directly affects the digestion of fats and the absorption of nutrients. This can cause reflux, frequent nausea, a feeling of indigestion, intolerance to heavy or fatty foods, and lighter or floating stools. Signs of poor lipid absorption. In many cases, people start avoiding certain foods not because they are health conscious, but because they simply don't agree with them. It's as if the body is sending warning signs, showing that the digestive system is no longer functioning as it should. In addition to digestive symptoms, it is also important to look for signs on the skin and eyes. The accumulation of fat and toxins in the liver can lead to the accumulation of bilirubin in the blood, causing jaundice, which is a yellowing of the eyes and skin. Although this symptom is more prevalent in more severe stages, there are subtle signs that precede it, such as dark spots on the skin, especially on the neck and armpits, called acanthosis nigricans, generalized itching for no apparent reason, and even adult acne and excessive oily skin. These changes occur because the liver is involved in filtering and eliminating toxins. When it is compromised, these toxins tend to accumulate and manifest themselves through the skin. Another symptom that is often overlooked is a change in appetite and body weight. In some cases, fatty liver can lead to an unexplained loss of appetite, while in others, there is an increase in hunger, especially for refined carbohydrates. This is because when the liver is inflamed, it alters the production of hormones such as leptin and insulin, which are responsible for regulating hunger and energy metabolism. As a result, people can easily gain weight even while maintaining a seemingly balanced diet. Fat accumulation, especially in the abdominal region, is a warning sign. After all, fatty liver rarely occurs alone. It is almost always accompanied by other manifestations of metabolic syndrome, such as hypertension, high cholesterol, and insulin resistance. Emotional state is also influenced by an overworked liver. Many people with hepatic steatosis report mood swings, irritability, anxiety, and even mild depressive symptoms. This is because the liver is responsible for metabolizing hormones and neurotransmitters that are essential for mental balance. When its function is compromised, hormone regulation is affected, directly influencing mood and psychological well-being. In addition, the constant presence of inflammation in the body, characteristic of hepatic steatosis, can alter the functioning of the gut-brain axis, profoundly impairing emotional balance. Finally, laboratory tests cannot be ignored, as they are often the first concrete sign of fat in the liver. Elevated levels of TGO, AST, and TGP, ALT, liver enzymes, may indicate that the liver is inflamed. Imaging tests such as ultrasounds often reveal the presence of fat even before any physical symptoms appear. Therefore, people who are overweight, have a history of diabetes, high cholesterol, or a sedentary lifestyle should have regular checkups, even if they feel well. In summary, the symptoms of fatty liver are mostly subtle, multifactorial, and progressive. That is precisely why it is essential to listen more closely to your body. Unexplained fatigue, recurrent abdominal swelling, digestive changes, skin and mood changes, all of these can be your liver's silent cry for help. The sooner you notice them, the greater the chances of reversing the condition naturally and effectively. The good news is that the liver is an organ with enormous regenerative capacity. With simple changes in diet, conscious use of medicinal herbs, and regular healthy habits, it can restore itself completely. But it all starts with recognition, listening to the silent signs and acting wisely. Throughout human history, natural plants and leaves have always held a sacred place in the relationship between humans and healing. Long before the advent of modern medicine, ancient peoples, indigenous, Eastern, African, and European, already used tree leaves, herbs, and roots to treat illnesses, restore balance to the body, and promote well-being. This knowledge, passed down from generation to generation, was built on observation of nature, patient experimentation, and a deep respect for the cycles of life. At the heart of this tradition is the idea that nature not only nourishes, but also heals. And when we talk about the liver, a vital organ responsible for detoxification and metabolism in the body, medicinal leaves play a prominent role in both the prevention and treatment of imbalances such as hepatic steatosis, the much talked about fatty liver. In the traditional medicine of various peoples, leaves are considered purifying. This is because many of them have bioactive compounds capable of stimulating liver function, increasing bile production, fighting inflammation, and eliminating toxins accumulated in the body. Unlike synthetic drugs, which often treat symptoms but overload other body systems, natural leaves act in a gentler and more holistic way. They not only relieve the liver, but also help the intestines, kidneys, stomach, and even the nervous system. And although many have forgotten this ancient knowledge in times of quick, industrialized solutions, modern science has turned its attention to plants, recognizing their value and investigating their properties with increasing rigor. Among the leaves most traditionally used for cleansing the liver are names such as boldo do Chile, dandelion, artichoke, carqueja, mint, lemon balm, and papaya leaf. These plants have in common the ability to stimulate liver enzyme activity and promote the elimination of fats and toxins through bile. For example, boldo, perhaps the most popular leaf in Brazil when it comes to the liver, contains bitter lactones that aid digestion, relieve stomach heaviness, and protect hepatocytes, which are liver cells. It is no wonder that in Brazilian families, drinking boldo tea is one of the first home remedies taught in childhood. Carqueja, a bitter plant with a distinctive flavor, is widely used in folk medicine as a blood and liver cleanser. Studies indicate that its flavonoids have an antioxidant effect, helping to reduce cholesterol and protect against liver damage caused by toxins and medications. Dandelion, in turn, is a veritable plant pharmacy. Its leaves and roots contain diuretic, choleretic, which increase bile production, and cholagogue, which facilitate the emptying of the gallbladder compounds. This triple action makes it an excellent ally for those seeking to reduce liver inflammation, improve digestion, and reduce fluid retention, a common condition in people with an overworked liver. Another powerful example is the artichoke, whose leaves are rich in cynurin, a substance that stimulates bile secretion and has scientifically recognized hepatoprotective action. It also has an antioxidant effect and helps in the regeneration of liver cells, being used even in Europe in herbal treatments for liver dysfunction. Also worth mentioning is the papaya leaf, less well known but highly valued by traditional tropical cultures. Rich in digestive enzymes such as papain, it helps cleanse the gastrointestinal system, promotes the elimination of toxins, and even has anti-inflammatory properties. Its tea, prepared in moderation, can be a valuable supplement for those who want to start a natural liver detoxification process. These leaves should not be used randomly. Traditional wisdom teaches us that plants should be respected as medicines and not treated as mere ingredients. The dose, duration of use, and proper preparation all influence the therapeutic effect. A tea that is too concentrated or used for too long can have adverse effects, especially in people with chronic diseases or who use medication continuously. Therefore, even when turning to nature, it is essential to seek information, listen to your body, and if possible, consult a professional who understands both herbal medicine and the individual reality of each organism. However, the greatest lesson we can learn from traditional medicine is the holistic view of the human being. In ancient practices, treatment with plants goes far beyond plant chemistry. It involves the person's relationship with food, with time, with nature, and with themselves. The act of picking a leaf, preparing a tea, breathing in its aroma, and drinking it calmly and intentionally is in itself a therapeutic process. It invites silence, connection, and slowing down, elements that are so necessary in a world where diseases often arise from overstimulation, rushing, poor diet, and distancing ourselves from the earth. Today, when we look at the increase in cases of fatty liver, we realize that the answer lies not only in expensive tests and medications, but also in returning to the essentials, returning to the leaves, returning to the bitterness that cleanses, returning to the simplicity that heals. Nature continues to generously offer its remedies as it always has. It is up to us to rediscover them with respect and wisdom. The liver, that vital and silent organ, is deeply grateful when treated with what comes from life itself, and few things are as alive as the leaves that sprout from the ground, with the mission of restoring what is out of balance. Among the countless plants that nature offers us, some stand out not only for their effectiveness, but also for the simplicity with which they can transform the health of a vital organ, such as the liver. In this topic, we talk about the so-called miracle leaf, a symbolic name that many popular traditions use to refer to leaves with a direct and profound effect on liver health. Although there are several options with proven medicinal properties, today we will focus on one of the best known, most used, and most respected, the boldo leaf. It excellently represents nature's power to heal gently, cleanse wisely, and restore consistently. The boldo leaf, specifically Boldo docile, Pumus boldus, is a plant native to South America that has gained fame not only for its characteristic bitter taste, but also for its surprising therapeutic effects on the liver and the digestive system as a whole. In folk medicine, it is considered a true liver elixir, and modern science has confirmed in several studies that its active compounds, such as boldine, have antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, digestive, and liver protective properties. This means that boldo acts at the root of the problem, helping to reduce inflammation in the liver, stimulate bile production and flow, and eliminate accumulated toxins more efficiently. But how exactly does this leaf work on the liver? The mechanism is fascinating. Boldine, its main alkaloid, has a strong antioxidant action that protects liver cells, hepatocytes, from damage caused by free radicals. In addition, it stimulates the production of bile, a substance essential for the digestion of fats and the liver detoxification process. When the liver is fatty, inflamed, or overloaded, bile production and release decrease, slowing digestion and hindering the elimination of toxins. Boldo helps restore this process, allowing the liver to resume its natural function in a more efficient and balanced way. Another powerful benefit of boldo is its action on the gastrointestinal tract. People with an overloaded liver often experience symptoms such as reflux, abdominal bloating, gas, nausea, and a constant feeling of poor digestion. When consuming boldo leaf infusion, these symptoms tend to decrease, as the plant also acts as a digestive tonic. It relaxes the smooth muscles of the stomach and intestines, facilitating intestinal transit and relieving discomfort. And since everything in the body is connected, this improvement in digestion also helps to reduce fatigue, irritability, and the accumulation of toxins, which are often reflected in the skin, concentration, and mood. In addition, boldo has a mild diuretic effect, which promotes the elimination of retained fluids, a common condition in people with inflamed livers or impaired liver function. This helps to reduce bloating and relieve abdominal weight gain, which is often caused not only by fat, but also by fluid retention and a slow metabolism. Therefore, it is common to hear reports from people who, after a week of regular use of boldo leaf, report feelings of lightness, mental clarity, and even improved sleep. This is because by detoxifying the liver, the entire metabolism reorganizes itself. The body breathes better, the blood circulates more purely, the nervous system calms down. However, it is important to note that despite being natural, boldo leaf should be used with respect and moderation. Excessive or prolonged consumption can cause adverse effects, such as stomach irritation, low blood pressure, or kidney overload. The safest recommendation is to use it for short periods, such as 5 to 7 days, with breaks between cycles. The most common form of preparation is boldo tea, made with 1 or 2 fresh or dried leaves in hot water, left to infuse for about 10 minutes. It should preferably be taken on an empty stomach or before main meals, when its digestive and liver protective effects are most pronounced. It is also important to mention that there are other species popularly called boldo, such as Brazilian boldo, Plectranthus barbatus, or Plectranthus ornatus, which also have beneficial properties, although with a different chemical composition. Both versions are used in natural medicine, but Chilean boldo has more robust studies specifically related to the liver. Regardless of the species, the secret lies in moderate dosage and consistency. Conscious use is what transforms a medicinal plant into a remedy and prevents it from becoming an irritant. The boldo leaf is more than a natural remedy. It is a symbol of the power of simplicity, ancestral wisdom, and reconnection with the earth's remedies. Its bitter taste, which is so often rejected by the modern palate, is exactly what the body needs to get rid of excesses. In Ayurvedic tradition and Chinese medicine, bitter is the taste that cleanses, purifies, calms the liver, and balances internal processes. And in the case of hepatic steatosis, this is one of the most necessary actions. It is not magic, but biology. A simple leaf can indeed transform the functioning of the liver when respected effected, used correctly, and accompanied by a light and natural diet. Therefore, when we talk about the miracle leaf, we are talking about a symbol, a practice, and a choice. The choice to return to the essentials, to listen to your own body, to trust what is natural, and above all, to understand that healing often begins with small daily actions, such as a hot tea made calmly, with a green leaf that carries centuries of wisdom in its bitterness. This is how the liver begins to regenerate, with time, respect, and the right leaves. Knowing that a leaf can help cleanse the liver is powerful, but just as important as knowing the benefits of this medicinal plant is understanding how to prepare it, when to take it, in what dosage, and with what precautions. After all, the use of any natural resource, no matter how simple it may seem, requires awareness. Nature is wise and generous, but it also demands respect. The boldo leaf, for example, a symbol of traditional medicine in liver care, offers its effects gradually, requiring regularity and method. When used correctly, it can transform liver function in just 7 days, relieving symptoms, reducing swelling in the body, and restoring vitality. But this process begins with an essential step: proper preparation. Boldo tea is undoubtedly the most traditional, accessible, and effective way to consume this leaf. It can be prepared with fresh or dried leaves, carefully harvested, always away from areas contaminated by pollution, pesticides, or animal feces. For fresh use, 1 or 2 leaves are sufficient for a medium cup of water, about 200 to 250 milliliters. It is best not to boil the leaves directly, as this can compromise some of the more sensitive volatile compounds. The recommended technique is to heat the water until it almost boils, turn off the heat, add the washed and fresh leaves, cover the container, and let it steep for about 10 minutes. After that time, simply strain and consume warm, without sugar. The bitter taste is part of the therapeutic process. It stimulates receptors in the digestive tract that activate liver and bile functions. For dried leaves, the ratio is similar, about 1 teaspoon of the herb to 1 cup of hot water. The preparation follows the same principle as the infusion. In both cases, the tea should be prepared at the time of consumption to preserve its properties. It is not recommended to store the tea for many hours or reheat it repeatedly, as this can degrade its active components and even cause adverse reactions. As simple as it may seem, medicinal tea requires attention and presence. The ideal time to drink the tea is in the morning, on an empty stomach, or about 30 minutes before main meals. This is because boldo acts directly on the digestive system to prepare it for food processing. On an empty stomach, it activates the liver and intestines more efficiently. Before meals, it aids in bile production and fat digestion. You can drink 1 to 2 cups a day depending on your sensitivity and your body's response. However, this use should be limited to short cycles, as proposed here, 7 consecutive days followed by a break. This period is sufficient to reduce inflammation in the liver, stimulate the elimination of toxins, and initiate a process of liver regeneration. During these 7 days, it is important to adopt a lighter diet, rich in fruits, raw and cooked vegetables, whole grains, seeds, and plenty of water. Plant-based foods promote internal cleansing, while ultra-processed products, rich in trans fats, preservatives, colorings, and excess salt or sugar, hinder the liver's work. Therefore, it is not enough to just drink the tea. You need to create the ideal internal environment for it to work. Think of boldo as someone who sweeps your house. If you keep throwing trash on the floor, their work becomes meaningless. But if you help by keeping the environment clean and cooperating with nature, the results come faster and deeper. In addition to tea, some people opt for alternative forms of consumption, such as boldo tincture, a concentrated alcoholic extract that should be used in drops, usually diluted in water. This form is more practical for those with a busy routine, but should be used with guidance as the concentration of active ingredients is higher. Another possibility is the use of boldo powder in capsules, available in natural product stores. Although practical, capsules lose the sensory effect of the bitterness, which plays a therapeutic role in activating the digestive system. Therefore, whenever possible, opt for tea. It not only treats, but also educates the palate, invites you to pause, and activates biological circuits that capsules cannot reach. It is essential to remember that, even though it is natural, boldo is not suitable for everyone. Pregnant women, nursing mothers, people with biliary obstruction, active ulcers, or severe kidney problems should avoid use without medical supervision. In addition, prolonged use can cause irritation in the gastrointestinal tract and should not be done continuously. The strength of boldo lies in its short duration and high efficiency, which is exactly what we propose here. A 7-day cycle, done consciously, accompanied by a good diet, quality sleep, and adequate hydration. Over the course of these 7 days, it is common for people to notice significant changes in their body and mind. Digestion improves, bloating decreases, breath becomes fresher, skin may become more vibrant, and even sleep tends to become deeper. This is no coincidence. It is a reflection of the liver functioning better. With fewer toxins circulating in the blood, the body breathes more freely. Fatigue gives way to energy, and the mind becomes clearer. This transformation, often seen as miraculous, is simply the body's wisdom returning to its natural state of balance with the help of a simple leaf and the decision to take care of yourself with attention and reverence. Therefore, preparing and ingesting this leaf for 7 days is more than a recipe. It is a ritual of reconnection. It is an invitation to slow down, to look inward, and to allow the body to cleanse, regenerate, and strengthen itself. It is not magic, but consistency with the laws of life. Healing lies in routine, in the details, in the loving repetition of simple gestures, and few gestures are as simple and at the same time as powerful as preparing a tea with intention and allowing it to take care of you from the inside. Cleansing the liver with a medicinal leaf such as boldo for 7 days can be a milestone in the process of regaining health. However, it is essential to understand that this cleansing should not be seen as an isolated event, but as the beginning of a broader journey of balance and reconnection with your own body. The liver is an extremely resilient organ with an impressive capacity for regeneration. But for this regeneration to occur fully and lastingly, the internal environment must be constantly protected, nourished, and respected. Therefore, rather than expecting miraculous results, it is necessary to cultivate consistent habits that promote liver health over time. In this topic, we will explore the main results you can expect after a week of cleansing with the leaf and what additional care is essential to keep your liver clean, light, and functional for much longer. The first noticeable results after 7 days of using boldo tea or other leaves with hepatoprotective properties usually appear in a subtle but significant way. Most people report a clear improvement in digestion, especially in relation to feelings of bloating, reflux, heartburn, and slow digestion. This is because with the stimulation of bile production and liver function, the body begins to process fats better and the stomach is not overloaded. In a short time, discomfort after meals begins to disappear. Another notable effect is a reduction in abdominal bloating and fluid retention. This is because by eliminating toxins more efficiently, the body becomes less inflamed and more efficient at circulating fluids, reducing the feeling of heaviness and promoting lightness in the body. In addition, there are frequent reports of improved energy and mental state. An inflamed or overloaded liver often robs a person of their vitality. They wake up tired, feel sleepy throughout the day, have difficulty concentrating, and live in a state of constant mild fatigue. After the liver cleansing process, it is common for this mental fog to begin to dissipate. Energy returns gradually, mood improves, and there is a general feeling of inner clarity. Some people also report that their skin improves. It becomes more vibrant, clearer, acne or blemishes are reduced, and hair appears healthier. This is a direct reflection of cleaner blood and a less toxic metabolism. But for all these benefits to be more than just temporary, it is essential to take additional precautions. The first, and perhaps most important, is to maintain a natural, anti-inflammatory diet. This does not mean following a strict or joyless diet, but rather prioritizing foods that help the liver function properly. Fresh fruits, green leaves, cooked or raw vegetables, seeds, nuts, whole grains, and good fats should form the basis of every meal. At the same time, it is essential to reduce or eliminate the consumption of ultra-processed products, sugary drinks, fried foods, excess red meat, alcohol, food coloring, preservatives, and refined flours. These foods not only require a lot of work from the liver to process, but they also cause inflammation, insulin resistance, and fat accumulation in the liver. Another essential precaution is adequate hydration. The liver depends on water to metabolize toxins and eliminate them efficiently. Drinking water throughout the day in small amounts and continuously is a simple gesture that greatly enhances the body's detoxification work. What's more, water promotes kidney function, skin health, digestion, and bowel function, all of which are indirectly linked to liver health. A good practice is to start the day with a glass of warm water with lemon, which helps alkalize the body, stimulate the liver, and gently wake up the digestive system. In addition to diet and hydration, regular physical activity is one of the liver's greatest allies. Exercise improves blood circulation, increases insulin sensitivity, reduces visceral fat accumulation, and activates enzymes responsible for toxin metabolism. It is not necessary to engage in intense exercise. Daily walks, stretching, dancing, gardening, or any movement that gets the body out of stagnation is enough to help the liver function better. A sedentary lifestyle is one of the biggest risk factors for the accumulation of liver fat, and movement, therefore, is a form of active prevention. Quality sleep also deserves attention. During the night, the liver works intensely on blood filtration, hormone metabolism, and cell regeneration. When a person sleeps poorly or too little, this cycle is interrupted, compromising the body's internal cleansing. Cultivating good sleep hygiene with regular hours, a dark environment, movement and no electronic stimuli is as important as taking any tea or supplement. Deep rest is, in itself, a natural medicine that strengthens all organs, especially the liver. Last but not least, it is essential to cultivate a balanced emotional state. Repressed emotions, chronic anger, frustration, and stress directly affect the liver. In Chinese medicine, the liver is even considered the organ related to anger and repression. When we are in constant tension, the liver contracts, energy flow stagnates, and cleansing and metabolic processes are affected. Therefore, practices such as meditation, conscious breathing, gratitude, and moments of pleasure are more than emotional acts. They are therapeutic strategies that have a real physical impact on the body. In short, the process of cleansing the liver in 7 days using a medicinal leaf is a kickstart, a way to activate the body and reconnect with its natural healing ability. But the results will only be sustained if there is a deeper commitment to one's own health. The liver is a silent but extremely generous organ. It works tirelessly to keep the body in balance, even when it is mistreated. When cared for with respect, it responds quickly, and that response translates into more energy, easy digestion, stable moods, and a renewed sense of well-being. Keeping your liver clean is an act of self-love, and that love is built every day, in every choice, in every meal, in every pause to breathe with presence. Nature has done its part. Now it's up to you to continue this journey with awareness, consistency, and courage.